morning, everyone. Welcome to 25 October 2023 Canaveral Port Authority Board of Commissioners meeting. I'd like to call this meeting to order and ask Commissioner Lloyd to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All set. So, an enthusiastic good morning and welcome to our ambassadors, Mike Gautreaux. Very good. Dennis Hepburn. There he is. Robbie Roberts. All right. And Bob Sox. And then Ambassador Emeritus Jim Hanley. And good old Mac McLeod. There he is. Oh, Carolyn Willis again. Good morning. I'm glad that you're able to attend consistently. Okay, may I have a motion to approve our agenda?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
May I have a motion to approve our last meeting minutes?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Second. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we off to a fast start. We have the good fortune to have Senator Mayfield in attendance today to help make a presentation. And I believe Diane, are you there? You are. Okay, so you're going to introduce the senator, and off we go.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Commissioners. Port Canaveral's mission as a gateway for commerce is very complex. We need the best tools and resources to ensure we can deliver economic prosperity for this region and the state of Florida. Keeping our port safe and secure is one of our port's top priorities. To do this, we must have highly qualified people, the best equipment, and a commitment to service excellence. Thanks to Senator Mayfield's hard work and dedication to this community, the state of Florida is providing a $1.02 million grant to Port Canaveral to help us acquire a new aerial fire truck for the Canaveral Fire Rescue Team. This new fire truck will enhance the response capabilities of Canaveral Fire Rescue to better serve this community and ensure the safety and security of this port. We are grateful to Senator Mayfield for her leadership in the Florida Senate and for her support of our port. Please welcome Senator Mayfield.
Thank you, Diane, and I want to thank the commissioners for allowing me to come and do this presentation. You know, we have a great partnership with the port, and you do a lot for this community and the county and the state. You know, the cruise ships that come in and out of here, the new cruise ships that you bring in, the cargo that you bring in, I mean, you really do fulfill a mission that is very important to the state on job creation as well as economic impact that it has. You know, we helped with the fireboat a few years ago, and now this is for the fire truck, and I usually say don't spend it all in one place, but you do have to spend this all in one place, which is on the fire truck. So I don't know if there's any other equipment that you need this year, but if there is, let us know, and we can get that appropriation. But you have a great team working with you, and Diane and the whatever your name is. We never see you. No, we do see you. But, you know, in Tallahassee, things fly left and right all the time. And if it wasn't for your government affairs people to keep us informed as well as to what's happening, bad things can happen as well as good things can happen. So I want to thank you for allowing Diane to work with us and your whole government team and Captain Murray be part of this team as well, because they do a fantastic job for you, and you should be really proud of them. So thank you, and I'd like to present this check. Am I bringing it to Captain Murray, or who's getting the money?
You'll stand in front of the dais. Chief?
And, all right, Chief, sorry.
Well, thank you. That is a significant accomplishment and another step forward for the port and our team. Next, Mr. Crow is going to make an introduction for an important study, a vulnerability assessment presentation.
Morning, Mr. Chairman. Morning, Commissioners. How do you follow that? How do you follow $1 million check? I asked
You don't have any
Jacobs to
money
bring
to
a
give
check.
us?
What's
You
that?
don't have any money to give us? You don't have any money to give us, sir?
I spend the money.
Spends it all.
Part of my job. So she was asking who wanted to receive the check. I about stood up. So I'll take it. No. I asked Jacobs to bring a check today, but instead they gave me an invoice. So it's my pleasure to introduce Jason Bird. I'll ask him to come here to the podium. We've been working on this resilience study for many months now. It's an effort that we started pre-pandemic that was then put on hold and was resurrected, was brought back to us post-pandemic. We've been working on it for several months. A couple of things that I want to highlight about the study is its methodology. So as Jason steps you through the methodology, their approach, it's a very repeatable formula. It is a formula that mirrors the requirements of the Resilient Florida Statute 380, uses the NOAA 2017 data, as we've talked about, with planning horizons in 2040 and 2070. It's a very strategic document for us from a built environment standpoint, from an infrastructure standpoint. What do we need to be considering in the near term, in the midterm, and then in the long term for the port? Obviously, we have a very healthy capital projects budget, a very healthy capital projects program underway. We have many significant projects that are going to hit the table in the coming years. We want to get out ahead of that to make sure that our projects are built not only to the correct elevation from a flood risk standpoint, but also that they contain those intelligent features that are earmarks of resilient building construction in Florida. So I'm going to read a little bit about Jason's bio here. He has been Jacobs' Florida practice lead for resilience. He is a 22-year seasoned professional in residential, industrial, utility, and stormwater transportation projects. He focuses on resilience and sustainability, green infrastructure, integrated water resources, and applied knowledge of infrastructure planning and design, which is really a key to our program moving forward. Their group evaluates future threats, and they use those evaluations to inform municipalities, military installations, government entities such as Port Canaveral on how to move forward in our built environment and how to protect our assets in the future. So join me in welcoming Jason Bird. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to come today and present to you. We're very excited to be part of this project with Port Canaveral and with such an organization with such leadership and foresight that have been working really hard to maintain critical service operations and support its tenants and operations here at the port. Very briefly today, I'm going to speak with you about the purpose of the project, the findings from the vulnerability assessment, the recommendations from the adaptation plan, and then next steps toward implementation. The purpose, as I mentioned, building on the great work that's already underway here at the port, really, as Bill indicated, to prepare for those potential threats that may occur in the future. Continuing to be proactive is critical to ensure that the investment that you all are making into the future will stand the test of time as threats evolve. Understanding those risks and maintaining service reliability for operations and positioning for funding are all critical aspects of this plan to help position for those future events. Strengthening regional collaboration is another opportunity to really help ensure that you're prepared for potential funding opportunities. The hazards evaluated as part of the plan vary, as seen here, with an emphasis on flooding, both today and into the future. The methodology that we used, as Bill indicated, builds on the Florida FDEP vulnerability assessment guidance to ensure eligibility for state funding, but also builds on that as you can see here in this graph, a process that can be followed over and over as new facilities become online and as new hazards become you become aware of new hazards. Starting with goal setting, data review, evaluation of hazards and scenarios, and then the vulnerability assessment really focused on exposure and sensitivity. Through risk analysis, we understand how to prioritize those vulnerabilities and then build mitigation strategies into that process. Ultimately, it develops an implementation plan, which we'll talk about in just a moment. So the findings from the vulnerability assessment. Just going to look at cruise terminals here for just a moment. Over time, as the cruise terminals were built at varying elevations, depending on their location here at Port Canaveral, also with the awareness of the Florida Building Code and changes to the FEMA flood maps and base flood elevation over time. As the regulatory requirements have evolved over time, you can see here the trend of elevations of the cruise terminals. In the light and blue dark lines, for each of the cruise terminals, you'll see the current 100 and 500-year flood elevations to indicate that right now all of the cruise terminals are above the 100-year flood elevation, which is a method of performance for those. And as those conditions evolve over time, that'll have to be reevaluated. In terms of future conditions, taking that 100-year flood zone and the base flood elevation, adding to it sea level rise out to 2040. These projections are from the NOAA 2017 and show a potential future case of a 100-year storm surge event. So this would not be a still water event, but rather a dynamic wave energy event where water may come onto land, indicating that as we plan for the future, we need to think about the level of performance and the type of activities we can undertake to continue to protect operations here at the port. The findings from the vulnerability assessment also include a look at critical facilities and support facilities. Here are just a few of the critical facilities we evaluated as part of the study. IT and communication systems, sanitary lift stations to maintain collection and distribution of the flows. Electrical panels and wet wells are critical to ensure those systems operate. Cruise terminals and enabling infrastructure, connected and dependent infrastructure such as backup power, electric transformers, HVAC equipment, and the like, to ensure that those facilities are protected. And then also critical access roads and shorelines, identified areas where erosion and or inundation may occur along the coastline. Support facilities include a wide variety of facilities across port property that may be owned by tenants or may be subject to impacts to port operations as a result of their proximity, including park land and restroom buildings, also warehouses and other support facilities. Understanding this provides a good framework to build on as additional investments occur across the port property. So moving into adaptation strategies, the key takeaway that we found was no immediate actions are needed, indicating the progressive work the Port's been doing for many years. However, the awareness of these future vulnerabilities help to inform those capital investments over time to ensure we're prepared for those future events. For each of the critical facilities, we performed an analysis of each of the assets, and that was used to help inform what the adaptation action should be for each critical facility and supporting asset. Looking at the building envelope, equipment hardening, equipment elevating, as well as enhanced design standards. The table on the right here shows, on the left-hand side, shows different flood scenarios, starting with the 2040, 2070, and the 100 and 500-year flood elevations. That's compared to the assets of this given facility, in this case, cruise terminal number 10, on the right-hand side, and the elevations associated with each of those different assets compared to the flood elevations. The color coding indicates those that are at risk today, which are the access roads. Potential flooding could occur on that access road during the 100-year event today. The yellow indicates those are, may be impacted by a flood event in 2040, and the green 2070 or beyond. So this indicates that overall the facility is not at risk today, but could be in the future. And depending on the criticality of access during a flood event, that may or may not require attention today. I do want to point out all these elevations are in NAVD instead of mean low water, just for awareness. So looking at the facilities, over 42 facilities Port owned across the entire property. We've laid out, based on inundation of flooding over time, what we believe a potential implementation plan might look like, focused again on the near term, midterm, and longer term. This would need to be consider ongoing capital projects, as well as other needs that may evolve from clientele over time. But generally speaking, this shows that in the near term, there's a few activities that would be recommended to prepare for the potential future effects in the next decade, and then midterm would be beyond that. The recommended projects include improvements to wastewater collection system hardening to maintain that, prevent sewer overflows, and continue to provide that critical service for each of the facilities. Stormwater system upgrades, continuing on the improvements to the stormwater system, considering future rainfall events and enhanced level of service, as well as incorporating green infrastructure. Exterior electrical communication hardening, elevating, and or water tightening those facilities. Erosion control of critical shorelines. We identified some potential opportunities at Jetty Park, Ketchum Park, south of the Cruise Terminal 10 shoreline, and then also stabilize the shorelines along the critical access roadways using multiple lines of defense, including nature-based solutions. Extreme heat is another threat identified, looking at potential practices that could be incorporated to further support staff during extreme heat events. Wind mitigation is another area where we're recommending hardening particular assets such as HVAC equipment on roofs and other communications equipment to prevent potential damage. And then hardening and elevating access roads to maintain critical access during storm events. In terms of next steps, operationalizing the plan, incorporating this knowledge into the capital planning and design standards, as well as project validation and definition, taking into account ongoing capital and projects and plan projects, and then continued coordination with stakeholders, with the city, with the county, and then also state and private, really to ensure that we identify these projects, incorporate them into items like the local mitigation strategy at the county, which opens up opportunities for additional funding. And then begin implementing projects focused again on the near-term activities, and then phasing in midterm at the appropriate time. It was a fairly robust study, and trying to condense this down to 10 minutes, but happy to take any questions.
Any particular issue jump out at you? I see that you've kind of done things in a timeline, which makes great sense, but anything that you think we need to prioritize ASAP?
Well, I think starting with the low-hanging fruit, this wastewater collection system was an opportunity that's already been identified and is in the works to be addressed to further enhance the electrical equipment associated with those to protect that system, prevent a sewer overflow, and maintain that critical service. So that would be a low-hanging fruit.
Okay, thank you.
A couple questions. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Jason, do you differentiate at all between saltwater intrusion and freshwater intrusion? You know, especially looking at IT equipment and those types of assets.
Yeah, definitely. As it relates to equipment corrosion, saltwater intrusion and exposure definitely can shorten the lifespan of specific equipment. The use of non-corrosive materials is recommended to help ensure the longevity of things, whether it's pipe hangers or control panels or other mechanical, pumps and motors, to protect them and ensure that they don't, prematurely fail.
The obvious question, this all starts with, I guess you said FDEP data. That's moving target.
Mm-hmm.
How robust, do you really try to find the best, most current, most reliable? Because this whole thing's built on that premise, right?
That's right. The sea level rise projections are, starting with the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, IPCC, as well as the National Climate Assessment, NOAA, and U.S. Army Corps. There's a lot of different entities providing projections globally and, nationally. The FDEP projections are, or guidance rather, and the common use of the NOAA projections has been widely adopted across the state. In 2017. They have been updated in 2022. However, the rate of change in the latest projections shows a more gradual increase in the near term with a faster escalation in the later term, with the 2100 scenario roughly the same. But as a result of the 2017 being slightly more aggressive, it's more commonly used in general. In terms of the specific curves, there's a range of projections that correlate to different greenhouse gas emission scenarios globally. Those are downscaled for local application here in the U.S., but the lower end of the curves basically show no change in terms of, we continue to see the historical rate of rise continue through, which is not expected to be a probable scenario. Or you have the extreme case, which is the highest rate of sea level rise, which is a worst case scenario. The ones we're using are, you can call them more in the mid-range of the curve scenarios that correspond to activities underway to curb greenhouse gases globally, are expected to be more realistic scenarios in terms of what we're likely to see, and also tend to trend very well with the data that we're seeing.
So you're comfortable that the political influences are minimal?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I want to underscore that for you, advice for Bill, for everybody, the need to share this. We've got, for example, an upcoming project that already is the whole lift station issue is really a challenge because we don't own them. It's like you said, it's another partner, another local entity that has to be sorted out to do anything, let alone look ahead and get ahead of this thing. So that underscoring, working with everybody else and getting this word to everybody else is very important. Thanks.
Yep.
Anyone else? Thank you very much, Jason.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. We are on to commission discussion items, and it appears that the only item is our 2024 meeting date schedule. Unless anyone has any comments or questions, can I have a motion to approve it? The schedule's been approved.
So moved.
In a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Captain Murray, your report. And if you don't mind, at some stage, educate all of us as to what, a little bit of what your internal procedures look like for the presentation that we just saw. In other words, like the lift station, assume that's being delegated to somebody, and
Obviously, that would all fall under Mr. Crow's shop, but we'll have a normal process as we look to do any improvements. They would come through the normal process of the board on any specific projects that we would handle. Most likely, a lot of these items, because we have the assessment now, as we look to the future, will build to the new standard on new construction. And hopefully by the time we get 30 or 40 years out, we've built everything over again, as we usually do, over that time frame to the new standards. I don't know if that helps.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, well, good morning, commissioners. I just wanted to start off with today. You had a unique treat when you came in. There was a vessel at Cruise Terminal 1. We normally don't have cruise ships in port on a Wednesday. That is the Allure of the Seas, making her maiden call on the 3- and 4-day rotation. There will be an embark on the ship today, and she will return on Monday and fall into the normal 3- and 4-day rotation. This is a highly anticipated move by Royal Caribbean to put the Oasis class vessel into a 3- and 4-day service. So the Independence sailed for the last time on Monday. She'll be back Friday for a debark, and on Monday the Allure will be the new ship in the rotation. But she does her first embark today on a 5-day sailing. So it's a
John, what is the capacity?
the capacity in the ship. That one in particular gets up around 6,800. She's sailing around 6,200 today. So not a bad start.
Is it 6,700 at 100%? Or is that
100% is about 5,400.
Okay.
But then you've got extra bunks, extra family members, friends, whatever. And maximum capacity on the Oasis class ships, they're all a little bit different. But if you say 6,800, 6,900, you're close. Some are a little, the newer ones, what they've done with that class of vessel is it's always been the largest class ship in the world. And every new one's slightly larger, either a foot longer, a meter longer, or it's got an extra 4 staterooms or an extra ballast in it or something to make it bigger than the last. So right now, the largest ship in the world, cruise ship in the world, is the Wonder of the Seas, which sails out of Port Canaveral on Sundays, 7-day rotation. So the Allure was the second ship in the series, and she's, I think she was delivered around 2010. Okay, so going from there, got a fairly quick report today. We're at the end of the year, October to September 30th. We had 906 cruise ship calls last year versus 792 in 2022, which accounts for the jump in multi-day passenger counts. We were just under 6.8 million multi-day passengers this past year. Upcoming arrivals and departures is going to be a busy month between now and Thanksgiving. We've got the Allure of the Seas on her first call today. Morella Discovery will be wrapping up her summer season on November 5th, and that'll be her last call. November 6th, Carnival Freedom, photo on the right, just went through an extensive dry dock in Spain. She's got a new livery, the new Carnival colors, and a new stack. This is the one that had the stack fire probably 6 months ago and has been operating without the classic whale tail, but that's been replaced on the vessel. She'll be back in November 6th. We also have the Adventure of the Seas, first call on November 10th, another Royal Caribbean vessel. Carnival Vista comes on November 13th. That's replacing the Carnival Magic, which was a seasonal winter vessel. The Carnival Vista, I'm pleased to say, will be with us year-round, sailing out of Cruise Terminal 6. MSC Seashore is currently in the Mediterranean. She's doing a short med trip, then coming transatlantic, and first port of call will be Port Canaveral on November 16th. She'll be with us for the winter season. And then on November 18th, we have the Norwegian Escape back for her first call of the winter season. That vessel's been with us for the last 3 winter seasons, so this will be her third. On the passenger movements, you can see that we've been holding steady. The peaks and valleys in this graph are merely the seasonality of the 4 times we have our peaks. We have generally our peaks in December, March, April, and July. The key note here is the difference in September 23 versus September 22, which was a strong month in 22. We're off to a good start or a good finish in 23. So right at 500,000 guests. On the cargo side, we had 487 ship calls versus 425 and 22. Our cargo tonnage this year is at 7.1 million tons. It was a record-breaking year for cargo. The tonnage, the increase is 8% over last year, 6% increase in slag. We had a new plywood customer that moved 31,000 tons of plywood through the port. And Blue Origin's crane arrived as cargo from Germany on the vessel Frauke. Discharge operations are handled by GTUSA. The crane has since been assembled. It's at North Cargo Berth 6, and it's now the highest point in our Port Canaveral as a whole. It's a very, very tall crane, and when you look across, you see our mobile harbor crane looks very small compared to this Blue Origin crane. On the recreation side, everything's been going well. Campground occupancy, 48%, 1% higher than September 22. We're down in the shoulder season where the kids are back at school, so it's a little bit slower. Vehicle counts, 264. We had 8,000 vehicles past year, and the past month. And we were open for all 7 launches this past month. Sometimes the launch is in the middle of the night and the park's not open, but we were open for all of them. We also had all the laundry equipment replaced at the campground. For any of you that are interested in staying there, the washing machines are new. On public safety, we had an active shooter training for all employees in this past month. We hosted quarterly FDLE, private-public intelligence sharing meeting. That's done on a fairly regular basis. We also had a successful internal security audit with no discrepancies. And Corey attended the Society for Gases and Marine Fuel board meeting. It was a focus on LNG and future fuels, which include hydrogen, ammonia, and all sorts of other crazy things. But those are all clean burning fuels that are envisioned for the marine environment in the future. That's a short report today. Like this picture, every vessel in the picture belongs to SpaceX, and there are 2 booster recoveries at the same time. So we've been doing quite a bit with SpaceX recoveries lately, as you read in the newspapers. Any questions? Brief report today.
Thank you.
All right, thanks. And a reminder, we have the Brevard County delegation meeting this afternoon in this room starting at 3 o'clock. Okay.
Mr. Poole, your monthly good news report.
The monthly good news report is going to be an annual, so we're going to report on the whole 12 months. And how did we do this fiscal year? Revenues came in at $190 million. That's $10 million above budget. Expenses at $110 million are $1.5 million below budget. We needed to do some department-to-department transfers that I'll be discussing. The $10.4 million, who contributed to that, right? Cruise was $7 million of that $10 million positive budget variance. Cargo was $2 million, leases was $730,000, miscellaneous, which is our commercial vehicles fees, was over $870,000, and I'll be discussing all 4 of those segments. And why was cruise up? Well, if you look here, we forecasted 6.4 million passengers that actually came in at 406,000 more, 6% more, and that's expressed in dollars. That generated additional $7 million over and above our revised budget that the board approved in April. On the cargo front, why did that come in almost $2 million above budget? Excuse me, go back one. That tonnage that we forecasted at 6.6 million tons came in 520,000 or 8% more. So that additional 8% in tonnage resulted in almost $2 million. And here for the month itself, we budgeted $13.5 million. We came in just slightly below budget. Cruise by itself, as John reported here, 6.8 million passengers, 906 calls. On a quarter-by-quarter basis, you see it comes in just on a very even, predictable basis here. You see in the middle column here, I show first quarter it's 25%, second quarter is 25%, third quarter it spikes up just a little bit at 26%, and then in the fourth quarter it's 24%. But it's very predictable, very stable, It's not like you had these huge fluctuations within each month, as John reported. December, March, April, and July. Each quarter has a high month, but when you annualize it, it's just very stable and predictable, which financial folks, when we're trying to forecast our revenues, we like predictability. That's it on a monthly basis. And going to cargo at $20.5 million, almost $16 million, that's fees that our port customers pay us, dockage, wharfage, line handling. In addition to that, they almost pay $5 million in rent, $4.7 million. That's above budget by almost $2 million. And that 7.1 million tons is 8% above prior year. Who's contributing to that? What are the commodities? It's the same top 5 that I've been reporting on a monthly basis. It's fuel, it's lumber, slag, limestone, granite. You add all those together, that makes up the majority of our cargo tonnage. And what does that tell you? It really underscores the role that our port plays as a hub and in supporting the transportation and construction industry. So, from a cargo perspective, we're a diversified port, but those are the segments that we really support, and it's expressed there in tonnage. Last items, leases, recreation, miscellaneous. Leases came in very strong at $5.2 million above budget. Jetty Park, $3.9 million. It was below budget for the year. Slightly miscellaneous are those commercial vehicle fees at $3 million. On an annualized basis, that $180 million that's reflected in the revised budget came in at $190 million. That $10 million positive revenue variance expressed in a percent is, you can round it and say 6%. Now on our expenditure side, we came in at $110.7 million, all in our 13 departments. Depreciation at $110.7 million, we budgeted $112.3, so we're $1.5 million below budget. But as it's reflected here in this far right column, you'll see 5 of the 13 departments had some negative variances that we needed to transfer funds to cover, and this spreadsheet here shows you that this is what we had excess funds in 2 departments, operations, administrative services, and we made department-to-department transfers to cover the variances for those 5 departments. And so if you look at the far right column, there it's a wash. It's still 1.5 million under, but you'll see now each one of our departments are in line with the spending that they did this last fiscal year. Wrapping it up, revenues of $190 million for all 12 months, expenses of $110, generates operating income of almost $80 million, non-operating revenues, which is our investment income, and this is the 3rd and final year of the American Rescue Plan Act funding in that $21 million. That represents about $13 million of that $21 million is that federal operating revenues that we received, and this is the final year. Non-operating expenses of $12 million generates almost $89 million in money that's programmed aside to pay for next year's capital budget and even future years after that. The main projects that money is programmed for are those 2 north side garages that the board approved at the, September board meeting that are due for ground break. We've already had the groundbreaking, ribbon cutting next October. That's it, Mr. Chairman. Very positive report. John will be going into at the state of the port a little bit more in detail on why these numbers were so positive in comparison to prior years. But Commissioner Justice, as we always do, if I could have a motion for you to accept the reports that are listed in items 2 and 4 and approve the reports that are in item number 3, unless there's any questions, and I'm always here to answer that.
So moved.
Second.
And I had one, let's go ahead and vote. I just had one more question.
Please. Oh, please.
It's really nothing about, it's nothing about the approval. It's just a general question.
Okay, so any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Just curious, Mr. Poole, how much of our budget, how did our numbers turn out as far as space, and that industry, that little niche industry, how much of that was our $190 million of revenue?
A little over 1% is space, where cruise is our biggest component, and then followed by cargo and the other segments. But space by itself is a little over 1% of that 190 million.
So roughly $2 million?
About, yeah, just a little bit below that, yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for pointing that out. That's important.
Not very much.
Any other questions? No. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Poole. And so, next item is the October capital project update. There will be no presentation this month. All those, nevertheless, we've all been briefed, and all current projects are moving along in the ordinary course. I believe, Melanie, there's no public comment on the consent agenda, so that moves us to the consent agenda. And I'll ask Mr. Van Valkenburg if he has any item he'd like to pull for discussion.
Nothing, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Commissioner Justice?
Let's pull 1A.
1A. Commissioner Lloyd?
3A, please.
Commissioner Allender?
I have none, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. So, may I have a motion to approve the remaining items, 1B, 1C, 2A, 4A, and 5A?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, Commissioner Justice, you'd like to discuss 1A?
Again, we can't not have Mr. Crow up here and talking, and I mean, have all the stuff going on, and then he doesn't get to say anything about it. So please, just tie this phase 2 here, because it's tied to the resiliency thing we just saw as well, and then also mention the 1C, it's in a different terminal, but just talk about those real quick, please.
Correct.
Okay, spend a lot of money, thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner Justice. Is it okay to speak from here, or would you like me to? Okay. I really appreciate the question, and thank you for the opportunity to highlight these both of these agenda items. Starting with item 1A, it is air conditioning related, HVAC. This is phase 2. It follows phase 1 that we kicked off at the September 20th commission meeting. It pertains to Cruise Terminal 1, which is a unique facility for us from an HVAC standpoint. It has a series of rooftop direct exchange units, as opposed to that centralized chiller with the chilled water loop. So it's more commensurate with like a big box retail store. And last month's meeting, we purchased a total of 8. And for that $1 million plus price tag, that included purchase of those 8 units plus install. This phase 2, which is the balance of the rooftop units, there's 10, was budgeted in FY25. However, knowing that the remaining units are still at that 10-year mark, acknowledging that we have a amazing product coming from our partner Royal Caribbean in July of next year, in the summer, the heat of summer, with the Utopia of the Seas, replacing the Allure, it made sense for us, we discussed internally, we want to kick off the manufacturing of the balance, the remaining 10 units. There's 2 large Aeon units that are about 120 tons, and the smaller direct exchange units are Train brand, but I think they're about 20 or 25 tons each. So this will allow us to get ahead of that manufacturing curve, which has been taking from 3 to 5 months, depending upon the size of the unit. So with your consideration, with your approval, we will be able to move forward with commissioning of these units, fabrication of these units. We would then return to the commission sometime in the spring with a request for the install cost, such that by July next summer, and we all recall how hot this past summer was, by July of next year, every air conditioning unit in CT1 would be brand new or less than 1 year old. And we're really looking forward to turning the corner on that reality. So thank you for your consideration. Do you want me to speak to item 1C specifically?
Just quick.
Okay, item 1C, Cruise Terminal 8 it does have a central chiller plant that has been replaced in the last couple of years. So the chiller plant is new. However, the existing terminal has a series of 4 internal air handlers that take that chilled water and push the chilled air throughout the terminal. 3 of those 4 air handler units are existing from 20 years ago, and this one that we are replacing in this year's capital budget, and this item is for purchase of that air handler and install. This provides chilled air, cooled air, conditioned air to the second floor seating area. So that general embarkation area where the Mickey Mouse ears are and the ticket counters are, that area, that air conditioner is needing to be replaced. That's what this item will accomplish.
Okay, thanks. I just want to underscore again publicly the whole experience of cruising, which you, the staff, spend so much effort and time on. You know, it's all about transportation flow. It's all about getting parked. But it's also about staying cool in those terminals. And there's great attention being paid by our customers to that.
Yes.
It's a big deal. And we got to stay on top of it. So I just want to highlight the fact that is happening and the effort that goes into it. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner.
And I'll go ahead and move that we accept consent agenda 1A.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Thank you, Commissioner Justice. I think that, again, illustrates how the folks here are being proactive, which is better than dealing with complaints after the fact. So well done. Commissioner Lloyd, 3A.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've gotten some feedback from the transportation community, and I also asked staff some questions yesterday as far as this service is for transportation for cruise ship workers and staff while we're building the new parking facilities. And so I guess the numbers are in, and there has been a committee selected, and the committee has voted, and so because of this disparity in the numbers, and I'm assuming that you guys have been briefed on this, staff wants to kind of go back and do interviews. And so kind of my question is, I don't really love the fact that we're not going to be able to vote on this again, and the service is going to be needed in November. So we're not going to be able to see this item again, and it's like what's the total award amount? Give me a range.
We have it in the budget for $3 million.
So it's $3 million. So I'm not comfortable approving it at this point, just giving it into staff's hands without knowing the final outcome. So my idea would be to maybe have either a special meeting, or as a board we could talk about possibly awarding for a month. I don't know how you would do it.
If I could just add, it's an active solicitation, so there's not a whole lot that I can say right now. But one of the processes of a solicitation is we always have the right to go to presentation levels. And if there's any ambiguity or further questions that are required after the committee goes through it the first time, then we bring folks in for presentations. That's the level we're moving toward next.
But we still have the problem of not being able to see the final outcome of that next level.
But you know what the proposals are, the amends.
Yeah, we're not redoing the solicitation.
Rebidding.
No, not rebidding, just working with what we already have.
I'm happy to have a special meeting if that's what it's going to take. It's no big deal.
I agree. However, from a timing standpoint, and here we go. I know in my profession, it's really hard to get anything done in the months of November and December. So I'm agreeable to having a special meeting if feasible.
I believe, we have to have this up and running by the middle of November. So we're working as quickly as we can to final resolution. We were hoping to get there before this meeting, but weren't able to do that due to notification, timing, and et cetera, because of the procurement process. It's guided by state law. I think if it's a special meeting, we need 3 members. Is that correct, Harold?
Always do 3 members, yeah. It's 7 days.
7 days.
Days notice and 3 members, okay?
My suggestion is pick a date and let us know. And those of us that can make it, and those that can't. I mean, our job is, we were elected to do the job here, and well, we may have other jobs on the outside. Our main job should be what is necessary to accommodate what the port needs, and yeah, we're all busy in some respects, but you pick a date,
We can do that.
pick a date, you pick a time, and
Absolutely, we can do
if
that.
I'm healthy and alive, I'll be here.
Perfect. We have no issue with that in a special meeting. If that's where we want to go, that's no problem.
I'm not really in a special meeting, but if that's what the majority wants, okay.
Yeah,
You have meetings to death.
yeah, I agree. I could go with a special meeting myself, but didn't feel the need to have one myself. But I don't know, John, if you feel the date of the state of the port that morning, is that a possibility? Or you just gonna be
I
so
can't
busy?
tell you right now.
Yeah.
This is a procurement process. There's
Yeah.
notification periods, presentations are a public meeting, so there's a
Right.
whole litany of things that I'm not in the weeds, so to speak, to give that answer right now.
Okay, because I think that's November 8th is the.
It's, yes, but I'd have to go through procurement.
Hectic then.
There's a procurement.
In the morning, then you're gonna speak in the afternoon.
I don't know if the dates work, great. I don't know.
Excuse me, you said the presentations are public meetings, though?
They are,
Well, they're public committee meetings.
right. It's a committee meeting. It's not, but most time the public's invited or the solicitors are invited, but most time nobody comes. But it is technically a public meeting that has to be noticed.
We have the state of the port that afternoon on the 8th. It would make sense just to run back over here and have a quick meeting.
If that works, that's fine.
Yeah, so.
Okay.
If we could shoot for that, that'd be great, but I understand the legalities.
So would we be pulling this item then for discussion at that meeting?
Well, if we're gonna have a special meeting to consider, then, yeah, it would be pulled.
Yeah, I recommend, or I make a motion that we table it until a later date for a special meeting.
Do I have a second for purposes of discussion?
Second.
So, Mr. Beislein, procedurally, we're on track here? We're
good.
Yeah, okay. Still have to take a vote, all right. So, all in favor of pulling item 3A from today's consent agenda and moving it for consideration at provisionally a November 8th special meeting? Is that the correct?
Just say,
Today.
at a scheduled special meeting.
At a scheduled special meeting. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. So there's no public comment either, Melanie, correct? Commission reports, Commissioner Van Valkenburg.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Real briefly, the end of September, I attended the Cocoa Beach Chambers Business Champion of the Year event. We didn't win, unfortunately. No. And then in early October, I attended the National Veterans Homeless Support annual dinner fundraiser at the Radisson. That was a tremendous turnout for that. So that's my report.
Very good. Commissioner Justice.
Before I get into mine, I want to just ask Captain Marty publicly again. Captain, I want to just, while we're here, is there anything that we need to be updated on, talk about to prepare for this afternoon? Is there anything, Diane, that needs to be shared with us while we can talk to each other and talk about it? She's not here.
Anything?
Oh, I just want to, we can't talk to each other, but we've got a big deal coming this afternoon.
It is a big deal, and I understand a lot is happening real time.
Yes, there is. And thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This afternoon is a public meeting. It's the annual meeting of the Brevard Legislative Delegation. That body has the purpose of taking up what's called local bills. And one of those local bills is to amend and recodify the Port's Constitution, fondly referred to as our charter. There's been discussion and some amendments made to the language that had been recommended by the Charter Review Committee, voted on and adopted by this board. And the bill sponsor, Tyler Soroy, will be presenting that this afternoon to the delegation. That bill language, as amended or proposed amendments by Representative Tyler Soroy, includes a new article for the Port's charter that would outline kind of, or memorialize would be a good way to put it, memorialize the Port's role in supporting the commercial space enterprise here on the Space Coast. We worked very collaboratively, the Port worked very collaboratively with Representative Soroy to draft that language. And as I have briefed Captain Murray and each of you individually, we are comfortable with that language. Additionally, my understanding, as I have just learned this morning, is there are potentially 2 other local bills that will be taken up by the delegation. One of them to be introduced by Representative Fine on a topic that has no relationship or no impact to Port Canaveral. There is potentially another bill contemplated and proposed by Representative Thad Altman that does, as it stands, as it's drafted, would have some impact on Port Canaveral. His language would create some additional amendments to the Port's charter. We don't know if that draft was part of his conversation and consideration in working with Representative Soroy on what would be Article 21 of the Port's charter, the language I just referenced that we're comfortable with. We don't know if it's kind of old business that was sitting with the chair, Senator Wright, or if there is there's an intent to bring it up this afternoon. So we are trying to get a read on that. And so if I can report, I'm reporting that I don't really know. At this point, I don't really know.
Okay, so I guess it will be shared with all of us before this afternoon, and whatever we need to do as we can do to represent
I think the
recommend
concern,
forward.
if I may, I think the concern is that you may not know until the meeting itself. It's not like we can, convey anything perhaps ahead of time, so.
And I'm not trying to get ahead of the work of the delegation, which will happen this afternoon. And I can say this, that the members as an entire body and individually are very supportive of Port Canaveral and the Port's mission. They recognize that we have a very diverse base of business here. I think that we all agree that, historically, Port Canaveral has always had a role in supporting space operations here on the Cape. Our history is closely aligned. We've grown up together. So I think at this point in time, with this opportunity or this requirement to reconstitute the Port's charter, I think folks are just trying to think, are we moving in the best direction? Is this, what best we can do now looking ahead into the future? So I'm reasonably confident that it will have a good outcome.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that.
Sure.
Sorry to hijack.
No, that's important.
It's a big deal.
That was
Okay.
smart. Commissioner, no, you guys.
Yeah, okay, I had a chance to spend a week up with the Propeller Club, International Propeller Club in Charleston. representing our port here. Our port was well represented in I'll leave it there. We did a junior ambassador. We had them all here, and we had a day with the tours and lunch, and that went well. Appreciate it. My ambassador joined me, Mike Otro. Thank you. And staff, thanks for all the work that you did on that, Melanie. It was good. It was a good day. NVHS, yes, that was good. I want to tie the junior ambassador thing real quick. I spent a Saturday. I'm on Senator Scott's Naval Academy, Merchant Marine Academy interview process. I got a chance over in Tampa. We had 150 students. It was 4 panels. I had a chance to interview 39 of the top students from around this state. Okay, you meet the best of the best. 1,550 board scores, things like that. Captains of all their teams, all these people who want to go to Naval Academy, Merchant Marine Academy, whatever. Of the 39, and there's 67, 68 states, or counties in our state. Of the 39 students, 5 were from this county, okay? And that is a testament to things like the Junior Ambassador Program, things like the Helm Program, things like JROTCs that get sponsored by all the vets in this county, on and on. The work that, Rich, you do, I mean, all that stuff, that's a real point. 5 out of 39, you gotta be kidding me. The best of the best right in this county, so it's good stuff. I got a speech Wednesday, Thursday community group, and then I'll just, again, State of the Port 2 weeks from now. Looking forward to that. We also have a Propeller Club that day. We do a veterans thing, so it's Propeller Club, veteran thing, and then walk over to the State of the Port and pushing that again. Thank you.
Very good. Commissioner Lloyd.
I have none, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Allender.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a brief report. Commissioner Justice has outlined many things that have occurred with the Junior Ambassadors Program, which is up and running. There were a substantial number of applicants this year. We did agree to limit it to 16 students, the maximum 2 students from each school. October 6th was the first day of the Junior Ambassadors meeting here. They were greeted by Clyde Mathis, Dave German, and Marie Harrison spoke about the Maritime Academies. Amanda spoke about HR. George Kistner provided a van tour of the port for the Junior Ambassadors. The harbor tour was led by Rich Grimison and Ben Bourget. Lunch was provided by Girls Restaurant. Commissioner Justice did arrange for a tour of the Coast Guard station. The next event is going to be November 3rd, and Commissioner Lloyd will be the sponsor that day, so he can advise next meeting what he did with that program. That's the end of my report. And again, I want to thank Melanie. Melanie is the one that really spearheads this program, does all the legwork. I'm there maybe as an advisory position, that's about the extent. But it is a fantastic program. And as Commissioner Justice indicated, maritime is an area that many people are interested in. And I think that's one of the reasons we had so many applicants this year. But because of the facilities that we have and the limitations on the number of people we can handle, that's why it was limited to basically 16 students. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. I would like to remind all the fellow commissioners and the public that our Port Chief Executive Officer's 5-year contract expires February of 2024. And so I'm going to ask that the consideration for renewal or extension, as the case may be put on the December agenda, since although we may be having a special meeting in November, otherwise we wouldn't be having one, and time is running quickly. So I'd like to be able to for all of us to have the opportunity to work over the next 30 days or so with our attorney, Mr. Beislein, and together, to the extent that we do so lawfully, of course, to make sure that we've got that taken care of before the 11th hour. Beyond that, I don't have any other report. And
But you're saying you will initially start some discussion?
yes, yes,
Captain Murray and
yes,
about that. Good, very good.
yep.
Yeah, it is best not to wait till
Agreed.
12th hour.
You've heard me say already today, I like to be
Yeah.
proactive. Right, right. Okay, no public comment is my understanding, so we're going to adjourn potentially to a special meeting in November, more to follow, but we definitely have a time certain and date certain of 6 December at 9 a.m. for our next meeting. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.